they were like, Miss Kelly, Dr. Kelly, you got to listen to this song, Birthday Song. She's like, okay, sounds fine. And then they played the song and she's like, oh my God, this song, right? Because it's Birthday Song by 2 Chainz and Kanye West, and the chorus is, all I want for my birthday is a big booty-o, right? And it's like, oh my God. And she's like, as a Black woman, I feel very uncomfortable that we're talking about this song. But she breaks it down and they watch the video, and it's very, girls, lap dances, very like misogynistic, very, objectification. There's a birthday party. They're having cakes that are in shape of women's bodies. What do y'all get out of this? Why do you find this? And they're like, we just, we vibe to it. It's all good. She's like, is this what you want, like, your birthday to look like? They're like, no. They're like, this is what you want your life to look like? Is this what you aspire to? They're like, no. We don't like this, but we'd like to do this if this is what we wanted.
Hey, Delishees, grab a plate and taste the delicious culture. I'm your host, Jon Francois. We are feasting on food, pop culture, and lifestyle with quite a man, Manny Faces. Now, Faces. Is that your actual last name or is that your stage name?
This is private information, but my government name is Bobby Elbows. So actually, no, I'm just kidding. It's a stupid joke. That's ridiculous.
I was going to say, I was like, crap, I got to do some editing work.
Thank you for entertaining me. No, it's my stage name. It's a continuation of a rapping, but more like a DJ producer, moniker that has stuck. And so professionally known as Manny Faces.
So describe your role in the hip hop world and what made you come up with the name of Manny Faces.
Yeah. Well, at the time I was doing a lot of production and beat making, and I had a small studio, like home studio kind of deal. And so for many years that was kind of my bag. I had done some rapping and stuff. I was not much of a dancer or a graffiti artist, so those elements I didn't mess with too much, but I definitely was a beat maker and producer and remixer for a while. Some brushes with industry intersections, but nothing really came of it. But it was most people in hip hop, I think to most would say, like, there was more than one name across your path, that you chose. And that was just the one that kind of stuck with me. It's a play on, of course, the Manny Faces character from He-Man. I don't want any trademark infringement, so let's just keep that between us. The He-Man character, kind of spins his head around and has like several faces. He's a man, he's a monster, he's a robot. In the cartoon. And I thought it was interesting because previously I had been known as schizophrenic, which was medically incorrect. But the idea was sort of that I had multiple personalities as an artist, and that I could bring around different, styles and I had different names for all these little sub. It was like a one-man Wu-Tang Clan, and it was just way too much to manage. So I gave up on that. And plus, like I said, it was not medically correct. But this kind of hearkened to that you could be several types of artists in one person. So I kind of stuck with it, namified it, and it stuck for many years. Now I use it now, which is interesting because I'm a journalist and I write under that moniker, and I've actually published a book, even though I did use my government name in part, but I'm really professionally known as Manny Faces. So when I go into speak at like colleges or at conferences, I'm Manny Faces. That's my name. So yeah, it's stuck and I use it professionally. And I actually think, like, consciously, my old me doesn't exist anymore. I am just now him.
All right. And the book that you mentioned, is this the book Hip Hop Can Save America? Inspiration from the Nation from a Culture of Innovation. Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Say that 10 times.
You know how to make it rhyme, man. You know how to.
That's quite a title. So tell me, so give me like the elevator pitch of what it's about. And I know you mentioned that it's been endorsed by one Cornel West himself. So tell me about the book itself and how someone like a Cornel West was just like, wow, this is a great read.
Yeah. Thank you to the good brother, Cornel West, Dr. Cornel West. So like yourself, I'm a podcaster. I'm a writer. I've been doing a lot of online media for a very long time. I've done offline media. I've worked in newspapers and such. But for many years, I covered the New York area hip hop music scene. That was sort of my beat, music and culture, what was going on. And I kind of celebrated the independent artists and maybe the showcases that were happening, not necessarily like the industry stuff. I like that gritty underground independent scene. And I covered that for a long time. I started realizing that there were some interesting people doing interesting things with the music and culture that they love, but in areas like education or science and technology or health and wellness. I met some people that were teachers, but they were also freestyle rap artists. And I met them at the freestyle rap event. And I'm like, you're pretty brilliant because you can rap about anything and you're pretty smart. And they're like, yeah, well, I'm a teacher. I'm like, that makes sense. Do you get to use rapping in your classroom? Oh yeah, here's how I integrate it with the kids. Or I go to Rikers Island on the weekend and work with young men incarcerated, so that help them with their development skills and expressing themselves and dealing with stress and anxiety, so that when they get out, they're in better positions. I'm like, wait, what? This is amazing. We love hip hop. We love, helping people, and you're doing this kind of work. And so I decided that I would kind of sunset the focus on New York area, because these folks are all over the country and the world, on top of that, and start advocating or telling the stories or journaling or documenting the people doing that work. So I started Hip Hop Could Save America, the podcast, looking for people who are in those intersections and doing great things and sort of improving society, right, through hip hop culture. And a bunch of them are teachers or mental health professionals, or even like hip hop theater, or, archiving, like all these nice juxtapositions that are happening in the world. And so I did that for several years. And through, at some point, somebody suggested that maybe I should take some of the foundational interviews that I did, which sort of to me tell this story, because I went on this discovery as well, and put it in a different format, put in a book. I'd seen that there were a bunch of books that, had been kind of adapted from interviews, especially in the academic world. And so I pitched it to Peter Lang, which is an academic publisher. And they were like, this is pretty interesting stuff. You talk to a lot of people. It's like a hip hop studies kind of thing. And so I put the book together, again, just a collection of the fundamental interviews that I did, and then my own thoughts, kind of stringing it together. And I sequenced it like an album so that you follow it. And now each one kind of feeds off the next. And then overall, this is my grand thesis, that the music and culture have really unique ways to improve society and uplift humanity. Dr. Cornel West, I had known from previously interviewing for another podcast that I worked on for a while, which is called Newsbeat, which was a social justice oriented podcast. So we were familiar with each other. And he knew, obviously, he's sort of tuned into like the hip hop pedagogy, hip hop studies movement. He knows about it. He knows some of the people involved. And so I asked for his blessing, and he gave me a really nice endorsement.
Can you give me an example of how you use hip hop in an educational problem solving sense?
Yeah.
Like, do you take a specific song and say, oh, here are some life skills that you can learn from this song, whether it be, I don't know, This Is America from Childish Gambino, or
Right.
WAP from Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah,
take your
sure.
pick.
There are lessons to be learned from all of these things.
Yeah.
So there's a few ways that, and again, this is a pretty mature, the idea of hip hop pedagogy has really been around for almost a couple decades now. But there's different ways to do it. So one of the early things that I came across was, it's defunct now, but it's a program called Fresh Prep, and it was in New York City. And in New York, we have to pass these state mandated tests every year, the Regents exams. And one of these schools that kids weren't doing really well academically, sort of a rough and tumble kind of area. Maybe they didn't have the resources that they should have had, and so they were having trouble passing these, I think it was social studies, these Regent exams. Some kids had failed up to 5 times, and all the kids had failed like at least once. And so they were trying to do test prep to try to get them better equipped to pass these tests. And so this program would take a rap artist, right? It doesn't have to be an educator per se, but some of them were, or they had one foot in education, or they were, like I said, just these really smart, really capable artists. And they would come into the classroom, they would work with the teachers, and they would formulate songs based on like sort of the curriculum, with the things that the kids had to learn. And of course, they would learn the songs, and by learning the songs, they would learn the curriculum. And think of like Hamilton now. Like, this was way before Hamilton, but like, how many of our young kids like know way more about the founding fathers than we ever did studying, because they watch Hamilton and they learn those songs, and now they have this history lesson. So it's a pretty simple idea to say, well, we memorize songs. I mean, shoot, the ABCD song is, the alphabet song's practically a rap song. It's our first song we ever learned. And so we could learn that way. And so that's like sort of at like one level, one real cursory level. But you mentioned like problem solving, like sort of a deeper way of understanding curriculum. And I want to point to like a program called Science Genius Battles, right? And this was started by Dr. Chris Emden, Dr. Edmund Ajapong, and GZA from Wu-Tang was involved very early, the genius. And what this program does, same concept. They bring teaching rappers, right, to partner with teachers in schools, in science classes in particular, right? This was the pilot program that ran, and it's still running. It's run for many years. And so the kids that are in the science class have to basically craft a rap song about some, it's like doing a book report, right? You know, we had to do book reports. Now,
Yeah.
like, do a rap report, right? But you have to, and so not everyone knows how to rap, like, inherently, but they're all generally familiar with it. The teacher, you know, the rap teacher kind of coaches, and they learn about the subject, they put it into a song, and then they have to perform it. They have to kind of battle each other. That's where the battles part comes in. So it's a
Wow.
little bit of friendly competition, and then the winner in the classroom battles the winners of the other science classes and
Oh,
then
man.
they went and battled the other ones in the district. So at the end, you have an auditorium filled with parents, friends, siblings, all cheering kids rapping about science, right? Phenomenal program. And the thing about that is that to do that, it's a little bit different than just rote memorization. You have to have a pretty like a pretty masterful command of what you're talking about to be able to make it into a song that's compelling and competitive. So it goes a little bit deeper than just taking the actual, I don't know, content and ramifying it, right? It actually, these kids have to know exactly like what they're talking about. I'll just give you the last thing I'll say is a quick example of this, which really was profound when I first learned about it. They told me that there was a young lady in this program, and she did this thing, she did the thing, and it's been like featured on NPR. You can catch like snippets of what they do, like you could watch it. But she did her rap on what happens to the body when it's been poisoned. Like, you know, you take a toxin and then like,
Yeah.
you know, all what happens first, the respiratory starts, you know, and then then it spreads to the liver and the lung and then the sepsis and it all shuts down. I don't know. I'm not even smart enough to be able to tell you,
Me
you know,
neither.
what happens. Right. But, you know, she went through this like biological, real, you know, real smart way of how the body breaks down and like eventually stops the heart. Right.
Yeah.
Which is great. You have to really know the systems. What they came to find out was she was doing this at the same time as a metaphor for having had her heart broken. She was going through a breakup.
Wow.
And so she made these analogies of how she was feeling. And I mean, I'm like, come on, stop
Can you
it.
give me a sample of this rap? I hope you remember it.
I don't, I haven't,
Ah.
I don't know if it was like ever released, you know, like if we could ever hear it, but this was, you know, relayed to me by the instructors in the program. And it showed me, and again, this ties into the mental health work that I see people do. It goes into the fact that she never would have talked about, she may never have talked about this personal incident
Right.
if they didn't have an outlet to do that. And so I see that in mental health. You know, one of the guys in my book, Dr. Ian Levy, he's a school counselor. He does the same thing where he allows kids to come in and write rhymes about their trauma and their, you know, when do young black men, especially like in the hood, right, talk about their trauma and their vulnerabilities? It's not, we don't do that as any men, right? Especially in places where like your vulnerability is frowned upon or looked at as weakness. But he gets them to do it because he introduces it through music. And next thing you know, they're talking to each other. They're in counseling sessions. They're making a mixtape together about these incidences that are going on. And the last thing I'll say is that you asked about like particular songs that are out there, even like WAP or what some might perceive to be like, they don't really hold value in a educational setting.
And just for entertainment. Yeah.
Yeah, but they can. And Dr. Lauren Kelly, who's in my book and is a great colleague, she teaches at Rutgers. She tells an amazing story where she's talking to some young kids, maybe high schoolers, and they were like about like songs you listen to today, like what are you into? Like you said, pop culture, right? Like what are you into? And they were like, Miss Kelly, Dr. Kelly, you got to listen to this song, Birthday Song. She's like, okay, sounds fine. And then they played the song and she's like, oh my God, oh, this song, right? Because it's Birthday Song by 2 Chainz and Kanye West. And the chorus is, all I want for my birthday is a big booty, oh, right? And it's like, oh my God. She's like, as a black woman, I feel very uncomfortable that we're talking about this song. But she breaks it down and they watch the video and it's very girls, lap dances, very like misogynistic, very objectification. There's a birthday party. They're having cakes that are in shape of women's bodies. It's wild. It's absolutely insane. And she goes, what do y'all get out of this? Why do you find this? And they're like, you know, we just, you know, we vibe to it. It's all good. She's like, is this what you want? Like your birthday to look like? They're like, no. She's like, this is what you want your life to look like? Is this what you aspire to? They're like, no. We don't like this. But we'd like to do this if this is what we wanted.
Mm.
And she's like, oh, and she's like, I understand that what I've been seeing as objectification, misogyny, materialism, it's not really that for at least these kids. It was the fact that they just want the power. They just want the freedom. They
They
want to
want the
have,
choice.
they want the choice. It's
Yeah.
exactly it. And they feel like they don't. And so they admire it when they see it in the music. And so from that, even as I say, that there's educational value in talking to students about big booty hoes. Like, it's just how you it's how you present it. You know what I mean? There's your quotable. But
Yeah.
yeah, so those are some examples that I've seen.
I wonder. I mean, do you have a rap of your own that you have made for these students? Just any rap in an educational sense that really stuck with you that you can share with us? Because I would love to see this applied to an actual brief rap verse, if possible.
I mean, I don't really spit too much myself anymore. But I will point to a friend of mine, a colleague, a collaborator. His name is Silent Night. And I can send you this.
Yeah, sure.
So we work together. I mentioned this other podcast I did called Newsbeat. And the idea with that, you might be old enough to remember Schoolhouse Rock, you know what I mean? Like
Sure.
the
Yep.
whole,
In school. Yep.
I'm a Bill, you know, right, and all that. And
Yep.
the idea was, and then Hamilton came out, and we're like, okay.
Mhm.
But we were in the journalism world, and we were covering sort of social justice and civil liberties issues, and so a little heavy. But we wanted to start a project that would kind of have that DNA. And my journalism friends, a couple of great actual journalists, like award-winning, you know, newsmen, and our publisher at the time knew my connection to hip hop, knew my connection to really smart people doing this kind of work. And he says, "What if we did this thing that I've been describing in the education sense? But what if we did it for news? What if we did it for topics like this?" And we piloted we ended up doing this for many years. But the basis of an episode would be we would interview this is where Cornel West came into play, activists, you know, people who are, you know, studying an injustice of some kind, mass incarceration, the movement that closed youth prisons, or the racial disparities during COVID, you know, things like that, stuff that was out in the world. And we'd interview people. And then throughout the episode, we would drop in basically 3 16-bar verses that were written specifically for that episode by these artists. So Silent Night was our first artist in residence. The first one was sort of on the pilot was Martin Luther King, you know, Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King, and kind of the stuff we don't hear about in school because it kind of gets whittled down to this real simplistic bumper sticker kind of, you know, analysis of what Dr. King was about. And we went in deep, and then we interviewed a couple people, and then Silent Night spit a verse for that particular thing. It turns out that now has been used in schools to help teach, you know, like the history of Martin Luther King and, you know, what he's done. So indirectly, yes, we've done it where we've crafted this thing as from a journalistic standpoint, from a, I want to say like a documentarian standpoint. Like, what if a rapper did a documentary or did a news verse? Because he's very Silent Night, especially, but we had many come on, 6 or 7 or 8 different kind of artists that would come on and do this sort of thing, and each had their own kind of angle. But to me, that's what I'm saying. Like, hip hop can be journalism, hip hop can be education, hip hop, it is like we've shown it. And so, and I'll be happy to send you some examples of a very compelling work that won us like some journalism awards, like against, I don't know if you ever heard the New York Times. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No, this small unknown newspaper. No,
yeah, some rag from, you know, upstate, up in the Northeast. So we beat them. We beat them for Journalism Podcast of the Year.
Wow, there you
Twice.
go. Good for you.
You know what I mean? So just that those intersections of those are some examples that actually live in the world, and that I'd be happy to send people to check out.
So Martin Luther King was alive way before hip hop came into fruition. If he were alive while hip hop came into fruition, do you think he would like it? Do you think he would be one of those judgmental Christians that just kind of has this black and white view of hip hop as the devil's music? I wonder if Martin Luther King would have, you know, loved the hip hop coming up in the 80s and 90s and present day.
I mean, far be it to me, you know, for me to, you know, even begin to think what he might think. It's a good question. It's a good mental exercise. I like to think that it'd be a little bit of both, right? As a lot of us who look at the entirety of hip hop, right? And we see the commercialism, we see some of the detrimental aspects of it, but, you know, like life, or, you know, just like society, it's nuanced, right? There's different levels to it. I think that when we recorded about him, and when Dr. West was on the program and such, you know, and talking about, it was actually an episode about civil unrest, right? The riot is the voice of the unheard, which was a King quote. I like to think that the way that hip hop has the ability to amplify the voices of, underrepresented communities, has always been like kind of it's in its DNA. It's in fact, it's born from a lack of resources, right? A response to socioeconomic distress, and in the Bronx and the North. So it's in its after a gang truce, right? Turn gang culture and gang wars into rap battles and dance battles, right? Like it's in its DNA. It is a collective unifying culture. Like that's Africa Bambaataa, who's problematic, rest in peace, but also has some problems. But definitely like coined that idea that hip hop is about peace, love, unity, and having fun. Those are tenets of hip hop. So whatever you think of hip hop today, whatever Dr. King would have thought of hip hop, he would have known, because he would have come up through in his birth, that it does have that in its core. So where we still see that, two things. KRS-One, great artist himself and a lecturer on hip hop, spoke. You can watch this on YouTube in the Netherlands. He spoke at a lecture, and he says in that that Dr. King, again, the bumper sticker of we should not be judged by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. And he says in the United States, and we live by that quote, and we herald that quote. He goes, but that doesn't happen in the United States. He says, in fact, it doesn't happen anywhere in the world. He says the only place where you can find actual like coming together of people from all demographics, all kinds of borders and ideologies and languages and what you look like and what you sound like and what country you're from is in hip hop, right? And because Toni Blackman, who's a great artist herself and has written books about the idea of the cipher, the coming together of people in a performance cipher, says you could pick me up and drop me off anywhere on the planet. Where there's people, it doesn't work in the ocean, but like where there's people, and she goes, and like, give me a little bit of time, I'll find hip hop. It's in every country of the world, right? We know this. She goes, I'll find the hip hop. And when I do, I'll find a place to eat. I probably find a place to sleep, because we have this global unifying cultural thing that I argue only, and many of us argue, that only exists that doesn't exist in politics, right? We know that. It doesn't exist in religion. Everything is so like fragmented. But when you talk about real hip hop, the core kind of, ideals that live in the center of it, it's the most unifying cultural force perhaps in history. So I think that Dr. King, and again, Marlon Richard, and I'm name dropping all kind of people because I always shout out other people. So go down these rabbit holes. I've interviewed Toni Blackman. I've interviewed Marlon Richardson, known as Unlearn the World. He runs a great nonprofit in the Bay Area called Hip Hop for Change. He literally says hip hop is the dream. Like hip hop is Martin Luther. He says it. I'm just quoting him. He says this is Martin Luther King's dream in practice. In that's a place where we can actually all come together. And if you respect like the culture and be authentic to it, you're welcome in the cipher. And where else do we see that? So I would hope that would be something that he would recognize. It's certainly modeled in sort of his what is it, the beloved, you know what I mean, the in the kind of that ideal, that framework of we are actually all in the beloved community, like we're all in this sort of together. And if we just realize that, we would actually not be at each other's throats all the time, because we have a common enemy and it's not each other.
Manny, tell me a delicious meal that you have enjoyed lately.
I cook, so everything I eat is delicious because I can get down in the kitchen, and I usually cook. And my wife cooks as well, and she probably cooks. She certainly cooks better than me, but I cook more. So I win by, quantity over quality. But my stuff is very good. But one of my delicious meals is actually a meal that I got from her, and I learned to cook from her. My wife is American, but her family's from Ecuador. So she's Ecuadorian America, and they have a dish called seco de pollo. And it's basically a chicken stewy kind of thing, but it's cooked very particularly. It's sort of a tomato base, but just a lot of vegetables, sofrito kind of mixtures and garlicky stuff, and chicken simmer for a long time. Cilantro. Yeah, you know what I mean? Really delicious meal. It's the meal that I cook now. And I cooked it for her mom. And I got the can't go. So I got the
mom.
I got the mom seal of approval. So I must do something right, because otherwise she was not gonna give it to this gringo.
Wait. What is a gringo? Is that like an Ecuadorian slur?
No, gringo. I'm saying gringo, like American white man. You know what I mean? Gringo. Yeah. It's more of a Mexican thing, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yep.
But so anyway, so I got her seal of approval. It's now the meal that like I'll cook if I'm I did a retreat with some friends, and we were in a like we call it the podcast house because we stayed for a few days and we did some hip hop education podcast recording because I
Yeah.
make podcasts. And then so each night, like kind of one of us decided to cook. And so I was like, this is what I'm going to cook. And invariably, like people were like, oh my God, this is great. So it's my delicious meal. I love to eat it when they cook it. I love to cook it and then eat it when I cook it. Seco de pollo.
Seco de pollo. How do you spell
Yeah.
that?
As far as I know, SECO, SECO, de pollo, chicken in Spanish, POLLO. Seco de pollo.
Did you meet your wife in Ecuador? How did you guys meet?
No, she's from Queens, New York. She's like I'm from New York originally. We did the thing that New Yorkers do, and I moved to Atlanta, so that's where we are now, outside of Atlanta. We met many, many, many years ago. I was married. We didn't even meet to like hang out. I was managing a comedian. My cousin-in-law at the time was a comedian. He was coming up in the New York like comedy set. And I was managing him. You know, he didn't know what he was doing, and I didn't either. But we were just out there doing it, and we did all right together. I was like, I don't know about comedy, but I know about hip hop, so I'm just gonna promote you like you a rapper. And he was like, let's go. And like, so we were just like doing all kind of guerrilla marketing that was very hip hop influenced, which is like where a lot of my mindset comes from. Like, if you put a hip hop mindset into like regular stuff, you actually create something really, really compelling. Just like I'm saying, we're doing journalism. You throw some hip hop in it, oh my God, it's something different, right? The idea of the remix. Anyway, and we were online. I was online, just hitting up people like, come to the comedy show, come to the comedy show, come to the comedy show. And she was one of the people I hit up. We had the same birthday, and so that stood out to me. I mean, she was cute, but I was married, sir.
Oh.
Stop it. Stop what you're thinking. But we had the same birthday, and I was inviting everyone to the show, so it wasn't even like that. But we ended up like kind of, knowing each other, and over many, 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 many years became great friends. And then after a while, when I wasn't married any longer and some time had passed, I was seeing someone else, and then she was like, "Oh, you got a girlfriend?" I'm like, "Yeah, marriage didn't work out, She's like, "Okay, I got a boyfriend, cool." And we're just talking, and then eventually she's like, "Yeah, I don't think we can be friends anymore."
Oh.
I'm like, "What do you mean? What?" She goes, "Because I want to be more than friends, and you're clearly not like thinking like that." And I'm like, "Oh my God, wait, hold on, stop." Like, no, hold on. I didn't know that was, no, hey, wait, hold on, stop. Let me think about that. I didn't know that was an option. Because we missed all the signs.
I appreciate the directness. That's so great.
Yeah,
I always find that very attractive in a woman when she's.
Oh my God! I was like, oh my God! And of course, I'm stupid. I'm telling her about my girlfriend problems, and I already told her about my wife's problems, and she's like, oh my God! Will you just either recognize it, like I want to like hang with you, or don't? Like, I was like, I'm so stupid. And we've been married 17 years. So. Let's go.
And I have no idea what your nationality is. Are you born here in America?
Yeah, I'm Italian American, like second generation. I was born in Pennsylvania, lived in New Jersey till I was 4, and then I moved to Long Island until very later in life. We lived in me and my wife and our daughter moved to, and I had other kids and other baby mamas and only one other marriage. So I've been, a lot of relationship things. But yeah, I'm an American dude. My dad is I'm second generation immigrant from Italy. My wife actually was born here, but her parents were immigrants. So, we have a lot of different, influences and perspectives, all through our.
So it sounds like your wife has made you fall in love with the Ecuadorian cuisine. And
yeah, for sure. I mean, that helped. I grew up around, Black folk and Caribbean folk, and had some Puerto Rican girlfriends, and you know what I mean. And so, and my dad actually could cook as an Italian. He actually could get down. He was a college professor. He rarely did, but he could get down. Like he would cook a lasagna. He would bake bread from scratch, and Saturday morning omelets. You know what I mean? Like breakfast.
How does your wife feel about the Italian cuisine? Is she like vice versa? Like, is she?
I didn't really learn too much from him, so I've learned on my own. Like I said, I do a lot of cooking, and I do a lot of experimenting on. I don't know how to make butter chicken like Indians do, so I'm just going to figure it out, and then I kind of do it. So I do a pretty kick-ass lasagna myself. But like my dad didn't do bechamel, you know what I mean? Like he didn't do a bechamel, so I do, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, well, let me try to razzle dazzle it a little bit. So yeah, so when I get in my Italian bag, it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Well, okay, but like I said, like is your wife into the Italian just as much as you're into the Ecuadorian cuisine, or is it?
I mean,
she's
nothing beats, good Latin
Ecuadorian. It's
food.
superior.
Yeah, like good Latin food. We're on our Mediterranean kick this month. We're like, hey, let's just cook Mediterranean stuff for a
Mhm,
while. So
mhm.
now we're doing that. So and it's fun because because of that, like because I got that really got that because now I'm living with her and we're married and we're
Right,
cooking and so I'm
right.
learning a lot of like the stuff they make. She makes some great stuff. Her mother, her godmother makes a hot sauce like from scratch with all
Wow.
kind of like oh my with little vegetables and all that and it's
Mhm,
just and I'm like I gotta learn that I have to learn and so it's real good to get like those influences so that I'm like, when I'm cooking, I'm gonna take a little bit of this, a little bit of
mhm.
again, I'm a remixer. I'm a hip hop guy. So my Italian food might start having some Ecuadorian influences and now I have fusion. You know what I mean? Like that's how they do. That's how
There
these
you
things come
go.
about. So
Dig
there'll be a thing that we cook or we make, and the running house and the joke is put it on the menu. Like if we ever
Yeah.
have a restaurant, like a fusion restaurant, put it on
Re
the menu.
Remind me of the name of the Ecuadorian dish that you named?
Seco de pollo.
Seco de pollo lasagna. How does that
Yeah,
sound as a
listen, we
fusion?
might could work. I mean, we make it with rice. We also make it with pasta. So I wonder. I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah.
There you
You know,
go.
that Ecuadorian dish that you, mentioned, you were talking about it, and it just reminds me because my family is Haitian, and
Ah,
bouillon was was a very, nice, thick, soup that we would always grow up with. It had the
yeah.
potatoes and the dumplings and the chicken, in this hot broth and,
Okay.
carrots, and it just yeah, it was, chicken, it just
Yeah.
was really nice and delicious and hot, and you get that on a
I.
cold day, and you need to be filled
Yeah.
up for 5 hours, you're good to go,
Yeah.
you know?
And every it's funny. Every culture like has that, right? Because
Yeah.
like Dominicans and whatever the. Not the sancocho, right? Is that it? It's but they have like that soup. My wife is like it's like hangover soup, you know what I mean? Or it's I'm sick soup,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
And and so I gotta try that. I gotta remember that. One of my very good friends and collaborators is Haitian, Tasty Quiche, TK Dutess, and
Nice.
she's super dope. And so I've talked to her often about like her family cooking and food and such. But I've never tried it. I've never dabbled. I'll have to do it. I'm gonna have to try it.
Well, tell her I said sac passe.
All right, all right. She'll say Nabule, right? Is that the
Inabule,
return?
something like that, a common
Yeah,
Haitian
something like
greeting
that.
for those of you
Yes,
listening and
yes,
watching
yes,
if you
yes.
don't know. Oh.
I mean, I'm from New York. We know it all. We hear it all. Yeah,
Yeah, New York is a nice, diverse melting pot. That's one of the
absolutely.
things I love about the city.
Yeah.
Earlier you had mentioned that New Yorkers are moving to Atlanta. Why?
Uh, Down south in general, it's cheaper.
Uh,
People have been
Taxes.
doing this. Yeah, taxes, property values. I mean, if I'd come pre-pandemic, I would have really caked. And I think a lot of people, obviously, that migration of people, that have come down south from New York. You got in a few years ago. You've already because now even outskirts of Atlanta are not as bang for your buck, but New York is also exponentially rising at the same time. So it's just more bang for your buck. It worked out for us because my grown kids who had been living with me, my ex-wife had moved to the Atlanta area, but they stayed with me and eventually with, Mrs. Faces. And but then they went to college, and one of my older kids had moved down there. My ex-wife's daughter, which was my stepdaughter, she moved down there. Then my two, through us, went down there different times for different reasons. So they're all down in Atlanta. So during pandemic, we were in Newark. We moved to Newark, New Jersey. We were on Long Island. I wanted to be closer to New York City and just more accessible because I was doing a lot of, like I said, I was still kind of in those music and culture circles, right? Pandemic happens, and we're back and forth to Atlanta. My daughter's graduating college, but she's having a baby, right? So we're coming back and forth to bubble, right? We had to be in the bubble, right? We
Yep.
did Airbnb, and we bubbled together for Christmas. Like she's doing a gender reveal, then we come down for the baby shower, then the baby's born. So we're making these trips back and forth. How's Nas say? Making moves to Atlanta, back and forth scrambler. Like we were back and forth so many times, it was ridiculous, and it was pandemic, and the pandemic kind of really changed the vibe in New York City.
Oh yeah,
And I want
not a great place to be for the pandemic because
no,
it reminded people like, oh yeah, I'm in my little box of an apartment, and
right, and like
New York
I
City is all about going out and experiencing things, and if there's nothing open, it's like, what are you doing?
100%. And I knew all these artists. I was going to shows like once a week. It was beautiful times, and I was like, man, listen, I don't know if it's gonna bounce back, and I just wanted to be around my kids. You know what I mean? So we just
Yeah.
decided on one of the trips, like, let's just, man, while we're here, let's drive around and look at some of the neighborhoods and where we might fit in. And our daughter was at the time, like 4, 3, 4.
Mm.
And so we were like, we kind of want to be settled at some point before she enters like, first grade, like, and so we came down here, lived we're right around the corner, like 3 minutes from my ex-wife and where my kids were then staying. And we all get along now. Everyone's cool. It wasn't always like that, but it's worked out. And then we stayed there for 2 years. Rent was increasing dramatically in the place we were staying. And then we were like, nah, we're going to be down here. Let's get a house. Let's settle in. And we did. And we've been where we are now, about 30 minutes west of Atlanta proper for 3 years. And we love it. And it reminds me very much of Long Island, where I grew up. It's a little suburban, but close enough to the city. You can go in, do your city things, and then come back home. You have trees, and my dogs can run in the backyard. And my wife's from Queens. She's a city girl, but, she also likes, she doesn't long for those days. She likes a nice, quiet, peaceful yard. And so we both feel very comfortable here. And I think that's probably why a lot of folks from up top come down here. We're very arrogant as New Yorkers. Every city sucks because it's New York. It's still the greatest city in the world by far.
Right.
But Atlanta's a vibe.
Yes, I mean, you're right. You're reminding me of my visitation there. My visitation.
Yeah,
I'm acting like I'm an old person. My visit. So I visited Atlanta a couple of summers ago to watch a live podcast. A wonderful queer community there. So there was a nice queer podcast that was
for sure
that I got to see, and it was a really fun alcohol infused vibe. And
I love it.
that was good and bad, but
are
more
they still around?
later.
Are they still around? Who is this?
Oh, who's the podcast?
Yeah.
Oh God. That is a good question. I will have to
put you on the
get back
spot.
to
I'm sorry.
Yeah. But no, you're reminding me of like the Airbnb that I stayed at. It was in this beautiful suburban neighborhood. It was like 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes from the city. I remember it was like sort of this like little this little guest house that the bigger house owners were able to let me sleep in, and they had the very environmentally conscious toilet where there was an actual flusher. Like I had to do the little lever rolly thing to flush my stuff down the toilet.
There you go.
But no,
cool.
other than that, I mean, beautiful city. I mean, I got to take a nice bus tour to see like Martin Luther King's neighborhood where he grew up, and Ebenezer Baptist Church, and
they have the whole King Center, which is right there. They have
We got to go inside the King Center,
great.
the Civil Rights Museum. Got to go inside the Coca-Cola Museum. The only thing I would do differently next time is not go in late August, because that Atlanta summer heat does really kick.
There is that. I prefer it over the cold. I don't even like to visit. I love to visit. I love to come back. I'm coming back this week. I'm in 2 days. I'm back in New York, so I go back frequently for the stuff that I do now. I'm speaking at conferences. I'm going to the hip hop ed conference. I still DJ. So we do every time I come in town, like my Silent Night, the band called Fuse, the guys I rock with, we do a show. We're doing something at Aloft Harlem. But so every now and then I go up there, but I don't like to go in the winter because I'm done with that. I am done with that. So I'll sweat it out in August because I'm okay with the Decembers here.
Right.
Which is fine. And again, my wife is Ecuadorian, so she's like, hot all day, let's go, it's in my blood. So I'm like, so we're pretty good down here. It does get hot though. And then the other side of it is the spring, the pollination is insane down here. And it's like, you'll think you have tuberculosis for like 2 weeks. And you'll go to the doctor.
Do what I do. Take Allegra every day. That's what I do for my allergies.
Well, even with that, like we start in like February. We got to like train our bodies. And then you go to the doctor, you're like, no, I'm dying. And like, no, it's allergies. I'm like, no, I'm dying. I'm literally dead. And they're like, it's allergies. And it's allergies because the pollen will be this thick sitting on your car. Every car is green down here, like yellow, green. But anyway, I love it. No movers remorse. I advocate for it. A bunch of us down here that I know, like from up there, like we're neighbors. Look at that. And Atlanta's a vibe. There's definitely a lot to do. It's an international city. They got FIFA coming now, so they're going to be turned up for that.
There you go.
And if you're into that, I am not.
I'm not either. No.
I got to see the Knicks beat the Hawks. That was great. So
I was going to say, so you may have left New York, but the New York may have not left in you, because you, for people watching this on YouTube and Spotify, you have your Knicks hat, because New York Knicks, for the first time in like 25, 26 years, have made it to the NBA Finals. How do you feel?
and I feel ecstatic. I'm so happy. Like I'm giddy. Like we're giddy, man. Like we always think we're gonna get there, and then like it's actually happening. It's like this is great. Very nervously optimistic, of course.
With you being based in Atlanta right now, are you getting some looks from Hawks fans if you show your Knicks
Nah,
support?
there's enough of us down here. You don't want we gang down here. There's enough Knicks fans. When I go to every time the Knicks come, me and my kids, we're all Knicks fans, so we go to the games at State Farm, and it's at least like 45% Knicks fans in the stadium. Like we are thick down here. So at this point, no, probably during because we played earlier in the playoffs. Yeah, that probably then it was like, oh yeah, all right, whatever, yeah, all right, whatever. And now they're home. They're in Cancun. So what are you gonna tell me? We're in the finals. Let's go.
So having not caught up in basketball in a little while, I think literally
Mhm.
the last time I was catching up with what was going on was when my family and we went to a Celtics game. I'm here in Vermont, so Boston is our closest
Sure.
city. So we've
Yeah,
been to plenty of
sorry to hear
Celtics
that.
games, and I think I think the regular season Celtics game that we went to was like before they ended up winning the finals in, I'm going to say, 2024.
Okay,
Um,
makes sense. Yeah.
so then I think the Knicks were still not good, and I
Yep.
would imagine that the reason why they became so good to get to the finals is it just related to that thing in basketball where it's like, oh, the badder you get, the higher your picks are during the draft, and you just gradually become a great team because you get good picks in the draft, or am I wrong?
Not for us. For yes, that happens. Like that's and teams now are being accused of tanking to try to get that higher pick.
Right.
We didn't have high draft picks. We ended up trading away all of our draft picks for less than stellar players over the years. We got Jalen Brunson. And when Jalen Brunson, we had Julius Randle, good player. Thibodeau was a coach. He was changing the culture. We had some good players. They're trying to figure it out. We have a good front office now. We didn't always have a good front office. They're bringing in the right players. But when they brought Jalen Brunson, who is now like a bona fide superstar in the league, but was a backup point guard, where he came from. It turned the switch. It absolutely turned the switch. And then they built around him. They brought in some of the players that he had played with in college. So there's Villanova Knicks connection, Mikal Bridges. We had Dante DiVincenzo, who they traded away, but we still have Josh Hart. So you have this connection. These guys played together in college, won championships in college, right? So they have this long-standing chemistry, long-standing, and Brunson is just become an incredible super, like Jason Tatum level, superstar. And now they've got Karl Anthony Towns. We made a couple trades, and that kind of took some. We had a new coach this year, so it's wild. We got to the Eastern Conference Championships last year,
Yeah.
almost won. So it's been a steady progression over the last 5 years, where everything they've done builds on the last thing, finally, in a way that kind of helps get us to the next level each time. And that train is still training, because literally we were one game away from year before we were in the finals, didn't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Last year we made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, one game away from getting to the finals. This year we're in the finals. So literally it's just been building on building. So Leon Rose is the guy pulling the strings and making all the trades. And for once, Knick fans know that James Dolan, the owner, had always had his finger in the pie, and too many cooks in the kitchen for too many years. And a few years ago he backed off and let this guy cook, and he's been cooking. So it's just been a good collection of people, and I don't know, mindset, you know what I mean, culture, that's paying off. So we'll see how it goes, but it's been working, and they are
So
locked and loaded. They've beaten teams by 30 points in the playoffs. They swept the last 2 rounds. No one does that. So we're pretty optimistic.
I
But
mean,
we'll see.
that
By the time
that
this comes out, we may have changed the game, or who knows. But
well,
yeah,
when a team has that great of a record leading up to the finals, it could go either way. They could either continue that, or maybe they'll be
100%.
exhausted and
And we've been
nervous.
sitting and waiting. The other team's been playing, so they should be tired, but they're also in a groove. We were in a great groove, but now we have to sit and wait because we swept. We finished so fast, and we've been just waiting. So we'll see. It's going to be, and the Spurs, and Wembanyama is an alien. Like he's just incredible player. Bright future ahead. One of the greatest of all time in the making. So if we don't win this year, our window's going to get tougher, because he's going to get tougher.
Win loss prediction right now. What
Knicks in 6.
Knicks and 6.
Knicks and 6. Yeah.
All right, all right. I'm wondering what the energy in New York City is right now.
It's
Now that
insane.
it is.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely insane. Like it's like riot police insane. Like it's just people just losing their minds. And of course, the tried and true Knicks fans will go crazy, but we won't be disrespectful. But there is that kind of new generation, especially in New York. It's sort of like a little bit of clout chasing, a little bit of trend chasing, and social media. Like so, they're trying to be crazy on purpose. You know what I mean? Instead of just actual like fandom.
Right.
Like crazy, and it's actually kind of tarnishing it a little bit. They
just want attention.
They just want attention, and like we were having used to have a section outside of Madison Square Garden where they had a giant screen. You could just stand outside, just walk up, and just be part of this giant crowd. Milwaukee Bucks does it. It's a huge outdoor, right. So you don't have to go inside. You don't have to go to a watch party. They did watch parties at Radio City Music Hall. They're doing an indoor watch party at Madison Square Garden for the away games, but they were doing it outside, and it just got to be unruly. And it's a shame because it's not like diehard Knicks fans doing that. It's like sort of like the social media generation that's, going a little bit overboard. So
yeah,
all that being said, New York is absolutely, thrilled beyond belief. It's New York's really a two-city town, a two-sports team town, Yankees and Knicks, you know what I mean? The Mets, we love them.
We're not going to count the Mets.
We don't count the Mets. We certainly don't count the Nets because that's still New Jersey. That's still New Jersey. The Brooklyn Nets, they're still, we never adopted.
Really?
Real Knicks fans real New York fans never adopted them.
When they moved from New Jersey to Brooklyn, you guys are still like, you're outsiders.
You're still, come on. It's only Knicks. So yeah, and football, whatever. When the Knicks are playing, the crime rate's gone down since the Knicks have been in the playoffs. It's just insane. It's it's like everyone's happy.
Too focused on this to shoot anybody.
We're so happy. So yeah, so we'll see what happens.
I wonder if Stephen A. Smith is crazier than he usually is on ESPN now. That
I guess, but he's like so wiffle waffly, and you know what I mean. Like he's like. These New York Knicks are the worst team in it, and then I love my New York Knicks. They're so great, and I'm like, come on, man. He's definitely a fair weather analyst, but. I suppose that if in his heart of hearts, he's probably very happy. He certainly seemed very ecstatic and over the top as he is. But yeah, it's real. It's a real deal. And we often get counted out for delusions of grandeur, but can't deny it. Like we're here. And so, whatever happens, we did the thing we needed to do. So let's see how our guys, perform. And it's been a great year. So I hope that it ends where we want it to. It's been great. So. It's been great. It's been fun. And that's
man,
been fun being a Knicks fan this year.
I love it. Good luck. Best of luck to you in the Knicks. Tell me a delicious piece of pop culture that you've been loving lately. This could be a TV show, movie, book, podcast, play, just anything in the culture that you're loving.
Oh gosh. First of all, I got to shout out my friends. So again, TK Dutest puts out a great podcast herself called The Secret Life of TK. She's been in podcasting and radio for years, but also been a creative and part of the music scenes, a part of culture scenes in New York City, part of the activism scenes. And she has a great podcast that I've helped work with. So a little biased, but just a brilliant, unique, example of a woman reinventing herself at a certain age and after having to deal with like how corporate does to women and to Black women, in particular. Great show. And so I've been enjoying working on it, but also just being a fan of it. My guy Silent Night again does music, so he's an artist that I love to point to. Pop culture wise, I do watch shows. It's the last show that I watched The Boys. So The Boys just finished their run.
So I hear it's a very interesting graphic adaptation of a comic book. It's on Amazon Prime, I think. Can you tell me more about the show?
Yeah, it's superheroes, right? But and supervillains, I guess. But if they were run by a corporation, like if superheroes were commercialized, you know what I mean? And it's extremely gory and graphic. It is not. I don't like gory and graphic. I don't like horror. I don't like gory. I like psychological stuff, but this is ridiculously like violent, sexual, gory. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely over the top. But I couldn't turn away.
Well, what makes this goriness the exception? What makes it good?
I mean, it's So, we watch superhero movies and we see like people get beat up, but we don't see their bodies ripped into shreds
Yeah.
and all of that comes with it, or exploding people, or, you know what I mean? Or, laser eyes that'll split someone in half and you'll just watch like the top half of their body slide off
Oh
of
my
the
God.
bottom half of their body. With entrails. It's disgusting. It's horrific, but really well done. And it tells a story. But there's an interesting parallel here, and those that have seen it, or obviously not going to go too far into it, but there is a very interesting parallel between sort of this idea of power, who controls it, how absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? That old phrase. When politics gets involved, there's absolute, and part of this was unintended, but there's an absolute parallel throughout the series with like a right wing like turn that obviously has happened here in America, but has happened across the world. And so it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you live in, there's a really interesting like parallels. And from what I understand, it's not like it was baked in. It's like, this is where the storyline was going. And it's like art imitating life in a way that's really interesting. And it really plays out in like the last couple seasons. And I remember, I think early on, because there's a very America centric lead hero. It was very much like the idea of patriotism today.
Okay.
I don't want to get political, but like how some would say, like, even the flag, right? Even the symbols of America have been sort of co-opted by one political party over the other, right? I think that's fair to say. We have Trump flags, and just they've taken over sort of the symbolism of a lot of things. And so early in the season, or early in the series, perhaps folks on that side of the aisle who were loving the show were feeling some kind of like, I don't know, allegiance with it, and then they started realizing that it's very anti-fascist, that the show is very much an anti-fascist, anti those things that you're seeing in this. And I think there was a time when, people on sort of maybe the left side of the aisle were like, they're kind of talking about you, right?
Mhm.
So it was like, but it's very interesting. That's all I'll say. There's definitely political undertones to it, or social and cultural undertones to it.
Okay.
And I think that's why it struck a chord to so many people. And it's action and it's excitement, and you're rooting for this ragtag, bunch of folks trying to do right. So
I love that. So very
Yeah.
timely conversation for what's happening today. The Boys on
Yeah.
Amazon Prime. Did someone's penis get cut off in this show? Because I think
probably. I think multiple.
I think that's what little I've heard of it, based on like morning show radio conversation.
Perhaps more than once. Yeah, there's definitely enough penis action,
so to speak,
to fill your quote. Yeah, to fill your quota.
Gotcha.
Whatever that weird
Jensen,
quota might be.
Is Jensen Ackles in the show? From Supernatural, Jensen Ackles.
I don't know.
Let me see what character.
Tell me, what is it? Jensen Ackles?
Yeah, the actor Jensen Ackles. He's from Supernatural. I think he's currently on the show Tracker with Justin Hartley.
Oh yeah. He's in that. Yep.
Yeah. What's his
He plays God, what's his name?
He's Soldier Boy in The Boys.
Soldier Boy. Yep, Soldier Boy. Yeah.
Oh.
It's a take on it's like a Captain America-esque kind of character. Yeah.
I wonder if the rapper Soldier Boy has tried to get a lawsuit going based on that.
Listen, Soldier Boy is having some other legal troubles he needs to.
Oh, is he?
About, so
what's new?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
What's the latest? I haven't caught up with the troubles.
If I'm getting this right, I think I want to say he was like shot his cousin or something.
Jesus Christ!
I know.
Let me look at.
Maybe I'm gonna get it right. Or I know he had a civil. Am I thinking of the right person?
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
He's been arrested for weapons possession, civil lawsuits for sexual assault and abuse, prior probation violations, according to a quick search that I did here.
Yeah, he shot somebody in like a home invasion, but he's definitely had some kind of legal troubles. So yeah. And it's really incredible. It's incredibly tragic. Soldier Boy, I do a whole keynote about hip hop and tech, and so those intersections based on kind of stuff that I talk about. Soldier Boy did his savvy in the tech sphere and how he got to be famous so young, and by totally like hacking the systems that were, in place. Like, one of his greatest things was when he did, he wrote, Crank That, the song that
Yeah.
he wrote and produced. And then he would go into the peer-to-peer networks at the time, the LimeWires, where you
Oh,
could share music. And what he
yeah.
would do, and seems simple now, but it was unheard of at the time. He would just rename his song, whatever popular song was popular at the time. So he would take
What?
his song and rename the MP3 file like Jay-Z, Izzo. And so you would download, hundreds, thousands of people would be downloading what they thought was like the popular song, and then it'd be in his song. They're like, "What the hell is this? This isn't Jay-Z." So, but he'd be
And
like,
then they would
"But
be
I
pleasantly
like it."
surprised that it's a good song. Yeah.
Right. And so he did that. He was early on MySpace.
Yeah.
And so he became like when MySpace came, he was like the number one artist because he was so early on it, and he was like already kind of popular in digital spheres. He was one of the early artists on YouTube. Like, he did all of this. He was making tens of thousands of dollars a month, like in high school,
Wow.
because he was one of the first. He was selling ringtones. Was that when that was a thing? He was 16 years old when he did all this. When he started doing all this. So I talk about that again. The brilliance in a hip hop mindset, coming from a hip hop kid doing things that you're not supposed to do. Again, the fusion we talked about, right? The secco de lasagna, right? Putting it all together in ways that I just think that creative folk, certainly I don't want to say underprivileged, but like folks that don't have a lot, got to make do, right? And so you learn how to make $1 out of 15 cents. This goes back to any, oppressed group in history. It's like, well, we don't have all the trappings, so we got the scraps, but we're going to make something cook out of them scraps.
Right.
That's hip hop. You know what I mean? That's where it comes from. And so, again, I didn't grow up with that kind of desperation, but I absorbed it and I learned from it and I admire it and respect it. And I think that when you throw all this stuff together, again, superheroes being controlled by corporations, it's brilliant. Like, it's a brilliant juxtaposition that you wouldn't normally think of. And that's for all the gore and graphic. It speaks to corporate greed. It speaks to political, power seeking. It speaks to, fascism and corruption in a really like brilliant way. So I love all that kind of stuff, and I'm glad we got to talk about it today.
What is a delicious thing that's happened in your life lately?
Oh man, so many good things. I have a granddaughter, new grandbaby girl Faces. She just turned 5, and so my youngest daughter, who's 11, and her and me and her mom, my daughter, just spent a few days at Myrtle Beach. We just had a little beach vacation.
South Carolina.
And so I've been doing a lot of traveling. Very lucky and blessed that I'm getting paid to do keynotes and I'm getting paid to, go places. And hip hop's brought me to a lot of great places. That's cool and all. And I've been traveling a lot the last few months, but it was actually nice to just, and I love coming home, to wifey and the dogs, my dogs.
Yeah.
But it was just nice to kind of, just sit around for a few days for once. Because even when I travel, it's great, but I'm working. So it's like, you got to prepare for the presentation. You got to do it. And I'm in great places, but it's like, it's so very tiring. So it was kind of nice to just sit with my girls and just hang out for a couple of days. So,
Myrtle Beach with the granddaughter. So is Myrtle Beach like the Cape Cod of the South, where it's like, you lay on the beach and maybe you go to a restaurant that's like, gives you a nice
it's very much, I mean, you get both sides. Like, you get like, it's like a very accessible place to go. It's not like maybe a Hilton Head, South Carolina, where it's like a little bit more upscale, but you definitely have strips in Myrtle Beach where you could do it all. There's very touristy. We stayed in a really nice place because it was like my granddaughter's birthday, so it wasn't like we're just going. So it was right on the beach, which was nice. But yeah, I've been there 3 times over the course of like the past 30 years, and always had a nice time. It is nice beaches. It's a good time.
You drive there from Atlanta?
We drive. Yeah, we drive. It's about 6 hour drive. Nah, it's light work. So
fantastic.
It's not my favorite place outside of New York City. But it's cool. My favorite place, speaking about delicious, my other favorite place in the world is New Orleans.
Yeah? Why?
So I've been there a few times. I've always just wanted to go there. And so it was for one of my milestone birthdays, which is in January. My wife and I have the same birthday, January 31st. But I wanted to do something in New Orleans. And so, again, Airbnb, whole family come down. But we did it in like April. I didn't want to do it like when it was cold. I wanted to do it when it was already starting to be nice. And we had a blast. I mean, it's a great city. Bourbon Street is crazy. The hype is real. It's just, it's madness. It's just chaos, but it's beautiful. All kinds of people from all over the world. You'll see businessmen walking in suits. You'll see a bridal party. You'll see a guy with a snake. You'll see drug dealers. It's great. It's everything. It's everything, it's New York, but not, right?
But more human.
And the food, man,
Yeah, I was
there,
gonna ask.
there's no place in I think they kick you out of the city. You know, like in New York, they have like the grade for like how clean your establishment is, like A, B,
Right.
C, and it's posted on the window. I think they just grade you for how good your food is, and if it's they exile you from the city because I don't care if it's a gas station food or a touristy spot like a tourist trap or like a top tier restaurant. I mean, everything was just delicious.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
There
hundred
you
percent,
go. A great way
hundred
to wrap
percent.
up our conversation here.
Yeah.
Manny
So there
Faces,
you
this
go.
was fantastic. Remind people where to find you, what the title of your book is, what your socials are. Just give us everything.
Yeah, I appreciate it. There's two places depending on which angle, but you can find each one from the other place. So mannyfaces.com is sort of my personal like centerpiece. You can find me, contact me. You want to bring me to talk about any of these things, you want some advice or some counseling or some consulting, let's go. The other place is Hip Hop Can Save America. That's my media ecosystems home base. The podcast is there. My YouTube channel is there. I do a lot of the interviews, appear on both, obviously. And the link to the book is in both places. The book is Hip Hop Can Save America, Inspiration for the Nation from a Culture of Innovation. And I think that it has advice and inspiration for educators, for healthcare professionals, for media folk, for people who work in government, people who work in nonprofits, parents, and generally anyone who says, I'm looking for ways to make the world a better place that I may haven't explored yet. And so the book and the podcast and everything I do is centered around those ideas. So you can find me there on Instagram is the best place, Manny Faces Official.
Love that. All right. Find the Delicious Culture with Jon Francois wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, SiriusXM, YouTube, wherever. Watch us on Spotify and YouTube. We're on video there. It's lovely to have you join us. If you like the podcast on Spotify, leave a 5-star rating. That would be great. If you like the podcast on Apple Podcasts, leave a review. That would be wonderful. TheDeliciousCulture@gmail.com is where you can email about any questions, comments, concerns, feedback. TheDeliciousCulture@gmail.com. Feel free to give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok at The Delicious Culture. That is at The Delicious Culture on Instagram and TikTok. Manny, thank you again for being on the podcast.
What an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you for having me. And it's like I said, it's truly an honor to be here with you.
Hopefully I'll get a chance to be on your podcast sometime. I hope to
Yeah, for sure.
reconnect at some point at that point in time. And for those of you listening and watching, let deliciousness ring.